Hi guys, VTech here, Blueberry Hill. So March 13th to the 15th, we're doing mostly concrete work for the next 2 days. Here's a setup. We're doing the forms and some rebar for the main entry door. It's roughly a 90x square foot sidewalk. We're filling it in with a bunch of rock because we have a lot of rock growing around here. So figured I would make use of it, and we still have a ton of rebar that we used last year. Or a year before for the floors in the container. And the containers before we poured the floor in there. But anyway, so I'm using those. They've been sitting around. I'm glad we're using them. We still have probably about 50 of those. But anyway, simple setup, normal rebar. I'm not really being 16 ounce center, nothing like that. I'm just throwing a bunch of steel in there, and I'm going to tie it up and then pour a bunch of concrete in there. So many years ago, we actually purchased an electric mixer, and it's been extremely useful. We did all the pillars with it before we put the containers down, and of course I'm going to use it to do this. I'm going to put a couple of 2x6s right over the rebar here, so I can put the mixer in there. You'll see that in a few minutes. And then I start mixing concrete. 80-pound bags. We have roughly 84 of them, and I think we end up using something 60 some odd bags to do this entryway and then the side entryway as well. So we're doing we have these simple wire ties. I'm actually using a screwdriver to twist them together. Nothing crazy, it's just to hold the rebar in place, and then of course I put a couple of rocks underneath the ones that are on the ground just to keep the rebar in the concrete. And we're putting probably a little more concrete than would be typical if we smooth this out with road fill or something like that. But in any case, this works. So after making the forms for the sidewalk, I moved over to doing the shower pans. Kind of a weird mix of work, but anyway, the concrete set from the day prior. Now I'm using PVC glue. Actually, I'm using screws right now, but then I end up using PVC glue to tie the membrane to the sheathing that I put down against the wall. There you see the glue. It works pretty good. It's pretty quick. It's kind of like normal PVC work. You just spread it on there, and then a few seconds later, it's kind of dried up. And then we start doing concrete on top of that, and this time use a level to slope it to the drain. So put the liner down. I did have to leave the liner on the driveway for quite a few hours because it was kind of cold in the morning, in the 40s, and I had to leave it in there so it would get nice and warm, and the seams would open up and not be as hard angled. You can see the seams right there, but not a big deal. Here I'm cutting a hole and putting the screw in the drain in, and bolting it down, and that's the actual waterproofing part for the membrane into the drain. There we go, and that's done. And then we move on to I think we move on to the middle bathroom, and then we're going to start doing the concrete work. And this one's a funny one. It's a different angle. It's just a pie shape, not quite a 45 degree. It's got kind of a pitch to it. This is a small shower. We're probably going to have a shower curtain, magnetic. We'll see how that goes. The glass curvature that we see on the ones that are available, not quite what we want, and fitment might be an issue as well. So shower curtain might be the right answer here. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, glue, PVC glue. I'm cutting the hole for the drain. It's hard to see in there because the camera's not doing the right light control here. But anyway, not a problem. And then as soon as we did that, we started moving on to the concrete. And this was our own mix. This is just sand and Portland cement. 3-to-1 mix, nice, kind of a dry, low slump concrete. And I have a 2x. I'm not even doing anything with it. I just put it against there, make the edge, and just leave the 2x4 there till the next day. I could have removed it, but no worries about it slumping over. So we were using the level. I don't know if I showed that in another part of the video, but we're using the level just to make sure we're consistently draining to the drain. And I believe it's right around a 1 degree slope. Probably a little excessive really for a shower, but it's minor slope when you look at it. When you stand in there, you actually can feel the slope, so that's cool. Anyway, make the edge. There you go, low slump. Use a 2x4 just kind of line things up, cut the edge, and it stayed where it was supposed to stay. So yay! Of course, Angie's there stupidizing me. Alright, now to the fun stuff. So this is, once you start pouring concrete, large areas, you have to kind of continue until you're done. So I've got everything ready. You see my mixer. And I started mixing. I got away with doing 4 bags at a time. That seemed to work pretty good. It almost wanted to puke out the front, but I still did it anyway. And then basically I just moved the mixer around so I could, I had to move the concrete once I poured it out, but it was easier to put on those 2x6s and move the mixer than it was just to wheelbarrow it in there or whatever. You know, rinse and repeat. So this took a little bit of time. I could only get 12 bags of concrete on the tractor. I mentioned that before. That's around 1,400 pounds on the forks. That's about the limit of the tractor, right at the base of the forks. Not a big deal, but anyway, it was still fun trying to heave all that stuff up. The mixer is high, so it's not fun getting the concrete bags into it. So I had to lift it kind of over my shoulder and dump it in. So it is what it is. A bit of a workout, no big deal. Since I haven't hit the gym for 2 years, I guess it's okay. So there you go. And just I think I put over a pallet on this, so that's 42. It's probably like 50 something odd bags, maybe 60 bags for the front area here. So it's a little thicker concrete than I think if you planned it out properly and had some kind of road base down there, but or sand, whatever. But it is what it is. It worked out. I'd rather have a little overfilled and thinner concrete just for cracking and so forth. So I was moving on in this job. Obviously, when you're near the end of the sidewalk right here, the other part is already setting up pretty good. I could almost walk on it. In fact, I probably did, and then I smoothed it out, troweled it out. We're trying to do just a trowel look, but we're going to end up doing a light grind a couple of weeks later after it dries and gets nice and hard. Got my helper there. Angie starts cleaning and getting things ready for me. Of course, I'm heaving the concrete in there. You're not supposed to breathe it, but hopefully the wind was taking it out away from our faces. Didn't taste it too much. That was kind of funny, right? You see me turn it on, a big old puff comes out of there. You can't really see that too easily when it's time lapse, but when you spin it over, it always makes a big poof. There you go. Use a concrete spreader, and then I go back and do a little trowel just to make it smooth, and then continue on. So. So you might notice the angle, it's angled out from the house, and just like the driveway. You know, everybody that's seen the pictures of the driveway, they always thought we were going to flood in the garage. It's not the case at all. There's angles coming out of the driveway, down the driveway and out of the garage, and all the water, even with all the large rains we've had, has no problem at all. So we're doing the same kind of a little V groove in the sidewalk, so the water should dump out very easily. And here I'm doing a little bit of recovery work. We've got too much water on the concrete, so it puked up the surface a tiny bit. So we're trying to smoothen that up. You saw me shoot some concrete on top of that. That may or may not work. It looked okay, but I think the next day we're still gonna have to grind it out a little bit. I don't like the way the surface finished out. But anyway, no big deal. Smoothing it, and we actually have, as I'm doing the video, we have a light rain and everything's working as it should. It slopes away from the house significantly, and then you can see the V in the driveway and the sidewalk there as well. So there we go. Yay! Alright, after doing the sidewalk, we moved over to doing the shower pan in the master. And this is, just rinse and repeat of what we did the day before with the other bathrooms. So put the pan, the membrane on, glue everything up, cut at the sides. And the corners, they're not cut, they're actually folded over each other, just like you would when you're making a present for Christmas, wrapping a present. And you want to fold it just so water, if it gets in there, still has a place to go and not behind the membrane. So You can see the wrinkles in the membrane. I had to leave this out in the sun as well. You can still see some significant wrinkles, but we're putting enough concrete down where they lay flat, etc. Here you see me putting actually these kits came with 2 corners in case you're doing, I don't know, a normal typical shower. And I used one of them out of the 2 kits that I bought. And this membrane was just a rolled up version, not a kit. It just had the membrane in it. These were all from, believe it or not, Amazon. I couldn't find any of this stuff locally. Home Depot guys didn't even know what I was talking about when I said PVC membrane. They looked at me kind of funny, so I walked away. So anyway, not a big deal. There's Angie helping me do the concrete. This was an easy thing to do, right? You just use the level, make sure everything drains to the drain, and pack it up. It gets pretty thick further away you are from the drain, of course, so it's about 2 inches behind me there, and that's just the way it is. So you want an even slope. You don't want puddles in the shower, of course. And once we do the tile work on the floor, it should be quite nice. So once we got to the edge, I just used another 2x4, and believe it or not, it was actually 3.5 inches right in that corner, and then sloped down a little bit to my left. We kind of made it level, so when you step in, you don't have a weird grade there. But for the most part, you can see I'm right on top of the 2x, which is roughly 3.5 inches, right? So it's 3.5 inches from the main floor, the bath, to the shower. So March 14th, so here we're working on I did the sidewalk, started the sidewalk this morning, and then finished up the bathroom. You just saw it a second ago. Basically we're doing the vinyl PVC waterproofing membrane. It's probably not technically necessary for what we're doing, but we did it anyway. You can actually see the slope in that, so it's pretty significant. Basically I just went to the outside of the level and the bubble on the outside of the line and made it whatever that is. It's probably, I'd say, like maybe 1 or 2 degrees max, maybe 1.5, something like that. But anyway, it should work to draw the water into the drain. You saw me do time lapse of doing the sidewalk, and then we were cleaning and we had water run off on the sidewalk, so it kind of messed up the top surface. We might have to grind it after it dries. Can't do it for about a week or 2 until it gets hard. And I brushed it, and there's the final look. It doesn't look terrible, but it's kind of rough, and I don't quite like it. The stuff in the corner right there, that's what I kind of wanted. That's not what we got. So anyway, more work for me. We'll probably diamond grind it, make it smooth anyway. That'll probably give us the look that we're after anyway. And it's kind of like what we have on the inside of the house. But we didn't expect that for the sidewalk. But nevertheless, it'll be what it is. Anyway, that's enough for today. We're gonna have a cold beer later. All right, March 15th, here we go. Even Whiskey's checking out what we're doing back there. He actually likes this area. Once we finished it, you know, I'm doing this video days later. He actually likes to lay down on it because I believe it's nice and cool, and they like just to sit there if we're doing something. Anyway, the dogs are pretty curious. There's Izzy going, what the heck's going on? So this was a little more fun. The mixer didn't have very good access to the actual place we're dumping the concrete, so we had to keep moving it right from underneath the mixer, and it was going over the edge a little bit, but you know, whatever, it's just concrete. So we're trying to set some of the concrete right against the containers. You can see the rocks we filled in that metal C-channel. I did that just in case we have a lot of water coming from the front of the house, which actually loops around the corner and has a place to go. It may or may not be needed, but it is in there because we have spares of that. So there you go. Anyway, rinse and repeat again. Here's Angie to help me out with whatever I need. I wasn't doing. So the concrete's pretty fun. I kind of enjoy it. It's a lot of work with the way you have to heave the concrete into the mixer, but aside from that, it was not a big deal. So I bought 2 full pallets of concrete, 84 bags. We have, I think, something like 15 left over, which we'll probably use for something. I think when we do the pool area, so we're just going to hold on to those. But we used quite a bit. I miscalculated based on the concrete calculators how much I would actually need. I tend to go 5 or 6 inch thick calculations, so that's probably why we ended up having a little bit extra. So that you can see the rebar is helping us actually spread the stuff. So we're spreading it so it hits the rebar and goes everywhere it needs to go, and then we do another couple of loads to smooth it out on top of the, we're going to call this a small patio. So that's what we did, and it turned out, this side turned out really nice. No big deal, because it's just square, and actually I have access to all of it from each side, so it was much easier to do than the front sidewalk, just for the size. Yeah, a couple more loads and we're done. So Angie's spreading it out, and again, it's got a pretty good slope on it, just for water runoff away from the house. And you can't see it, but above us, if you watch video prior, or one or two prior, Jake and I put an overhang panel up above our heads, so water shouldn't hit this directly anyway, and should stay away from the door. And that was the whole point of doing this. So it's all water control and not getting water directly on the doors. Not that we're worried, because they're vinyl. Alright, in a few seconds here, you're going to see Angie and I screed it out. I don't have the tool to do float, but didn't matter. We use a 2x4, we do pretty good with that. And then I come back and have to wait for the concrete to set, and then I trowel it out nice and smooth. And again, I could reach the whole patio area here, so not a problem. Yay! That went fairly well. I couldn't tell you exactly how thick that really is, but the 2x6 is right there. We have enough rock in there where it's probably 6 inches plus, and with all the rock, etc., you know, maybe 5 inches as an average. So there you go. A little bit runny, and then I do the final float, and leave it for a couple hours, and I come back and do a little nicer float job on it. There you go. This is a few hours later. You can still see enough water on the concrete, so I wasn't trying to rush it, but this was the last part I did, and then I just walked away like you're supposed to when you're almost done. So there you go. Anyway, appreciate you watching. We'll catch you on the next one.